Welcome to City Council meeting Tuesday, June 7th at 7 o'clock. And this is our regular council meeting. There's a couple of things. I'm not going to call the roll. We have three of our council here in attendance with us, and one council member, Lynn Meekum, who is live on Zoom, and we will excuse tonight Council Member Art Adcock, who is on an honor flight to Washington, D.C. And you know what? He served our country. That's where he ought to be. So we'll miss him tonight, but we excuse him for his service and for all that he does for us. We'll begin this meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask if anyone would like to lead us in that.
I'll do it, Mayor.
Thanks.
Please stand. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask if anyone would give an inspirational thought or an invocation to this meeting.
I will.
Thank you.
Father in heaven, we bow our heads humbly at this time, grateful to meet under pleasant circumstances, thankful for the beautiful city in which we live. We ask that we might be blessed with wisdom and good judgment as we make decisions regarding our city and her residents. Please help us to have open minds and hearts and to ask good and meaningful questions to help us learn. And please help us to listen to one another and to staff members and anyone else who will speak and share ideas and thoughts with us this evening. We are thankful for our country and the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. Please help us to have courage to defend them and protect them and stand up for them. We pray for all those who have served and continue to serve in our military, that they may be watched over, protected, and strengthened. And wilt thou please watch over our families as we are away this evening, that we will find them well upon our return. And we say these things humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Is there any potential conflict that any of you have tonight? That being said, we'll move on. Consent agenda. We've had a chance to look at the work meeting minutes from the 17th of May, the council minutes from the 17th of May, and the planning and zoning minutes from the 31st, and as well the city expenditure bills for this period, which is the amount of $2.5 million and a whole bunch of 5.5s and 9.9s in there. So with that, have you looked at those? Are there any questions with the consent agenda items? If not, I would like to move forward and ask for approval on those particular items.
Mr.
So moved, Mayor.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I like that. Lynn, that's really good. You come in loud and clear. Maybe more loud than you do when you're sitting here. This is good. Okay. On our public forums today, we have a recognition of Employee of the Month, and we are excited to have Braden Williams with us tonight, and Penny will stand up and take just a couple of minutes here and explain.
Braden is our June 2022 Employee of the Month, and he's worked for the city for about 1.5 years. He has been a great benefit to our Public Works Department and to the Santaquin City. He has picked up on the meter reading system and is constantly learning new skills that will help the department and our city in the future. Last fall, Braden was driving down 100 North on his day off and noticed water in the road. After investigating, he found a broken pipe in a sprinkler system. Not only was the water running down the street, but it had also started filling up the window well at the resident's home. Braden immediately turned the water off, averting flooding into the resident's home. Braden then called his boss, and they were able to get in touch with the homeowner. She was very grateful for Braden noticing an issue and taking care of it. It goes back to what has always been encouraged in our Public Works Department. If an employee is in town, they are working, no matter if it is their day off or not. When asked what Braden likes about his job, he said, "It is helping people with whatever they need with their meters and their connections." It is evident that Braden does love helping our citizens. Braden is married to his sweetheart, Lauren, and they have 3 children. He was born and raised in Santaquin, and they've recently purchased their 3rd home here in Santaquin. His extended family is all still in town, and he loves being close to them. A big thank you is extended to Braden for his service to Santaquin City and the residents of this community. He is a great example of a dedicated employee and deserving of this recognition.
Uh-oh, the microphone wasn't on. Did you guys hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
We did.
All righty. That must have been the text message I got partway through. All right. So, Braden, do you want to say anything?
I think I'm good.
Are you good?
Oh, no.
I've done that before when I first started, so I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Well, we have Braden's boss here. We have Jason Calloway here. Jason, will you come up for a minute?
How's it going, Braden?
Oh,
Let
good.
me move out of your way.
No, you're fine. No, Braden's worked, like I said, for about a year and a half, and he's done a great job. He gets along with the crew really well, and Penny mentioned something about customer service, and he does a great job with the residents in town to explain to them and the contractors what they need to do, helps them with their water connections, helps them with their whatever problems they have. Braden has been a great example to myself and the other employees in Public Works for doing this. And me and him banter back and forth a little bit about taking time off, but and it's to be expected. We give each other a hard time, and we like Braden. He's the future of Santaquin City. So we're not going to be here forever. These guys are coming up, and they're the ones that are going to be taking over our jobs and doing what Santaquin needs in the future. So thanks, Braden.
Yeah, thank
You need your wife and your son
I
with
always
you.
have a problem with Braden, because I wanna call him Brandon. And it's because it's family name for him.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things I always see. Anyway,
Here, you wanna hold that for me?
how about this too?
Yeah, you wanna hold that?
You wanna hold that?
There you go.
Microphone and
Thank you.
shoes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Cheese! Okay, we're gonna have one.
Thank you.
That is so good. We have also building permits and licenses. You want to respond on that?
Yeah, Norm's going to be pulling that up here in a second. I can just report to you that we're about on pace with where we were last year. We're maybe just a few behind. And we did have 2 new business licenses. So Norm will have that up here in a second. Kind of just where we were this time last year in terms of the number. So he has this here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
There we go. Sorry.
So there you go. We're just 5 behind where we were last year. Right now we're at a total of 203. And then if you scroll down, Norm, we have the two business licenses that have been issued since our last meeting. A preschool and a kindergarten, and then someone who makes acoustic panels. Any questions?
Yeah. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, we're going to move right along, and I'm also going to bring items 16, 17, and 18 forward so we can work with all of the public hearing while Ben is online with us, go over it, and go over the issues that are also in tune with that. I don't know.
Budget related, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have the public forum?
Yeah. Anybody like to speak? Any comments?
Okay.
Anyone want to say something nice about me or my dog or? I love Angus. He's a good dog. Okay, then we'll move right along to the public hearing with budget. I think we have been working on this budget for many months at this point, but a lot of the bulk of this has fallen upon Shannon and upon Ben. And we're grateful to have Ben Reeves with us tonight. This is part of his gift as he left us last month, was to make sure that we could keep him tied to us while we go through the final parts of this budget. Thank you for being with us, Ben, and for working with Shannon and helping us all and answering our questions. We appreciate every minute that we get with you, but we're ready to move forward, and you know me, I'm trying to move the meeting along.
Okay, then I'll get right to it. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and a delight. Not only serving you for the past 12 and a half years, but continue to work with your exceptional staff. You've heard the majority of this presentation on May 3rd and the significant changes that took place on May 17th, and that was mostly with regard to some changes to the way the auditors would like us to handle some of the bonds between the two major projects. So we've already gone through that. I'm just going to do the high level just for the sake of the public that may want to speak during the public hearings. And other than that, I'll be mostly available to answer questions. But long story short, our anticipated budget is before you as far as city revenues are concerned. City revenues are across all funds, and we're anticipating approximately $24 million in revenues. A significant portion of those are for impact fees, and that is to maintain the level of service so that the new residents moving in proportionally share in the costs of the amenities and the services that have been provided by the long-term residents for quite some time, so that there's no loss of level of service. As far as the operational funds constitute nearly $12 million of the budget. That is mostly for your personnel as well as all operational activities and expenditures. In addition to operational budgets, we have our debt service budgets and we have our capital project budgets for the year. This chart actually had an error on it that kind of made it look askew when you saw it last time. But this is our growth over time, and you can see that we've really worked hard to keep, flat majority of the overhead and the costs of administration and whatnot. And our largest expenditures have been in the area of capital projects with our public works and maintaining a very strong public safety presence. Our general fund reserve balance is at the 35% maximum. We're doing exceptionally well in that area, considering we were below the 5% back in 2011. So we've done a really good job to be fiscally responsible over the last several years. The major changes were covered in the last presentation, but that really talked about the new full-time employees, an electrician and community development transition from part-time to full-time, additional hours for the fire department and expanded hours for the library. We talked about the 4.7% COLA and the up to 2.3% merit, and having maximum flexibility, market flexibility so that we can adjust with inflation and some of our key positions such as public safety and whatnot. And then as far as part-time is concerned, community services, restoring the events coordinator, public works, 2 additional seasonal personnel. And we're really excited about the fact that we were able to maintain basically the same level of benefit coverage for the employees. And yet, when we initially thought it was going to be a 16% increase, Shannon with our brokers worked to keep that low, and through a transition of our provider from EMI to Select Health, we were able to make it so that there was actually a reduction in the cost of insurance this year of 2%. Many of our vehicles have already been ordered with the blessing of the council, simply because of the long lead times, especially the snowplow, which won't even come in the next fiscal year. So, and that is across the board. Even major fire trucks are 18 to 24 months out at this point, nationwide. We've already moved forward on some things, such as the backhoe and some of the other equipment that is before you that has been talked about in previous meetings. And of course, there are several major projects that are in the works, not only the Summit Ridge Tank and Booster Pump Station, the expansion of Harvest View Park with Phase 2, and just all the various projects that we have going on, the new City Hall and whatnot. But we're also looking at taking on new projects such as land acquisition for future fire stations so that we can utilize those impact fees I talked about earlier. And several projects that are going to make us more water-wise, more technologically up-to-date and savvy with our SCADA upgrades, and just expansion of things such as our cemetery and improving some of the amenities around our community, even parks projects and whatnot. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, and you have an exceptional staff to help you carry that forward. I am going to go over the transfers and how they relate quickly to your other sub funds, sub entities. So basically, these are the funds from the that are transferred into the general fund. Those have been published in the newsletter as proposed in the beginning of June. The actuals are a little bit slightly different, and those will be published in the July newsletter as well. Those were the in and out of general fund, and these are the ins and outs of other funds. And it's mostly because we collect all the money into the general fund, and then we feed out to the other funds for capital projects, for purchase of vehicles, for some of our special revenue funds, such as community development and, community services and all the amenities and events and sports and whatnot, library that they provide. We do have 3 sub-entities. Some of those transfers are transferring money from the city to those sub-entities. And rather than talk about those in those particular public hearings, I'll just cover them right now, and then we can just go through the public hearings when we get there. And then it's mostly the Community Development and Reinvestment Agency. That public hearing will be held on the 21st, and that allows us to invest in our community's future and provide good economic development and the growth of jobs and value-added amenities to our community. Our second sub-entity is the Local Building Authority. The Local Building Authority is basically an agency that is allowed to mortgage in the state of Utah. Cities are only allowed to bond or lease, not to mortgage. And the difference between a bond and a mortgage is basically a bond goes against a revenue stream, and a mortgage uses the collateral of the property itself to secure the debt and the bond. So the Local Building Authority allows us to do the mortgage, and the city leases from the Local Building Authority the use of that public works building until such time as the debt service is paid off. So each year we pay money into the Local Building Authority, and the Local Building Authority uses that money to make its debt service payment. And the last one is the Santaquin Water District. That allows us to, about half of the shares for water rights within the city of Santaquin are in the name of the Santaquin Water District as opposed to the city of Santaquin. And so Santaquin City leases water from the Water District, and the Water District pays its assessments using those lease proceeds. And the reason that is done that way is because there is certain benefits and negotiating ability that the Water District has that a city does not have. And so it's good for us to have a little bit of diversification in how we acquire water in the city of Santaquin. With that, I turn it back to you, Mayor, for the opening of the public hearing.
Okay. We will now open a public hearing on the budget and get any response that we would like. Even let's start with council. Is there any comments or anything that you would like to make at this point, or questions?
Mayor, you need a
Do we
motion
have
to
to
go
go into
into a
it?
public hearing, that's
Okay,
correct.
that's true. So I need a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion, we go to a public hearing for the budget
Second.
2023.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Those aren't roll call votes we have to do, is it?
You probably ought to, but we've got all four of them. I think we're probably
Okay,
okay, but
we're
yes, we
good.
should do a roll call on them.
All right. So with that, are there any questions? And then we'll also open it up for the public if there are any comments that we would like to get from them. But
I have a question for Ben. I don't know if it's time for me to ask it or after the hearing, but I'd like to ask where can you hear me, Ben? So where you done the budget through 2008 and you budget through COVID, do you feel there's any stressors in the future income, money coming in with where we are with inflation today?
Always. As far as the economy is concerned, it's always fluid. I started just after the downturn of the economy and when the city was at its lowest. And then, of course, right now we're seeing some inflationary periods. The big difference, I think, that you see in municipalities today versus in 2006 and 7 is that we have learned our lesson from that downturn in the economy. And so going into this, we have the largest amount of reserves that we can possibly have. We have a very lean staff that is working very efficiently. And you have capital projects that you are managing, but at the same time, if in fact revenues dip down or costs due to inflation go up, we can always scale back or dial down the speed at which we take on some of these capital projects. And so I think we are really well prepared and have a buffer that maybe we didn't have back then. And the second thing is I think Utah in general is very, very well positioned, that if you see a downturn in the economy nationally, it's going to hit Utah much slower because of the lack of the housing in the housing market. And so you can learn from what's happening in other states and maybe dial things back or not backfill positions or whatnot in the future if that ever becomes a need. But right now, you are still on very much of a growth curve, and you need more staff and you need more facilities just to take care of the growth. In the time that I started to the time that I left, the city has more than doubled in size, and so, but the staff has not. And so it's being shouldered and carried by some exceptional people that you really do need to take care of along the way. And the last thing is we've done a really good job of making sure that we don't use one-time money for reoccurring expenses. So one-time money would be your impact fees, and we only use those we let those collect up, and then we use them to go take on projects such as the Harvest View Phase 2 park. So that we're not really in a position where if we lost one-time revenue because of a drop in the housing market or something like that, that it would negatively affect the city other than to slow the progress of projects.
Thank you, sir.
I think a good message is we're trying to get ourselves in very, very good shape with everything we're doing. Good question. Any other statements or questions you may have?
I would like to hear from the public if any of them
Yeah.
are here to speak.
No one signed up, but does anyone want to make a comment or anything on the budget? It's a fun thing to talk about, I know. I was going to ask Brett to step up and give a short summary, but
Only Brett could add excitement to the topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, just a great big thank you to Ben and Shannon.
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think Shannon is learning an awful lot, and we are still relying on a lot of good things, and we're in very good shape, and we have a positive way forward. A lot different than 40 years ago when I sat in this position going, how are we going to make this? And I like it. And I thank you, Ben, for the work you've done, for the previous administrations, and for everything that's gone on. So I need to ask a question. Can we close this and then go into the other public hearings
Yes.
while we still have him?
Yes, that was the plan, is to move.
And since we don't need to go into the CRA at this point, I think we'll just leave it at that we're going to move that forward, and we'll discuss it in 2 weeks.
That's correct.
Okay, so I would like to ask for a motion to move out of this public hearing for the
So
budget,
So moved.
and I need a second.
I'll second.
And just to do this right, I'll do a roll call vote. So Councilman Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilman Sitaway,
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya,
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Thank you. With that in mind, we need to convene into the Santaquin Local Building Authority and hold a formal public hearing on that. So it'll be a relatively quick action the same way. So I need a motion to adjourn into the Santaquin Local Building Authority, where we become a board and a chairman.
Mr. Chair, I move that
Oh,
we.
Mr. Mayor, in this meeting, until we get into the other one.
Oh, I thought I was so on the ball. I was ready. Like, remember, he's the chairman now.
He will be in just a minute.
Not yet.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we go into or open the formal public hearing of the
Nope.
Santaquin.
You need to convene a meeting.
Convene of the Santaquin.
Convene.
You need to
Convene
have a
the
motion to convene.
Santaquin Local Building Authority meeting.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Councilman Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilman Sitaway,
Aye.
Councilman Meekum,
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
And you'll be referred to as board members for the next few minutes, and I get the title of chairman for a while. So are there any questions to the local building authority, what we need to do? This is a main thing of moving money around, giving us legal authority to do so under the state law. This is all a formality. So any questions or any comments you need to make? Anything from the public?
You need to open the public hearing,
Open.
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
You're in the meeting.
yeah.
You open the public hearing.
You know, there's just too many little things.
I know.
We don't have to have a
Chairman
vote
there.
to open it, though.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Do we?
You, as chair and board
Yes.
members, you now have to vote to open a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
In order to do so, we need to open a public hearing. Boy, that's two things within a thing. Jeez.
And we
All
still
right,
have
so
one more to go.
I would like to have a motion to open a formal public hearing of the Santaquin Local Building Authority.
So moved.
It's been motion to go forward. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That's for
And-
budget.
And a second, yes. This is for budget.
Yes, here, public hearing for budget.
Moved and seconded.
Board members.
Board member Hathaway,
Aye.
board member Sitaway,
Aye.
board member Meekum,
Aye.
board member, yeah, Montoya.
I will accept that title. Aye.
Well, it wasn't board man, I guess.
I would
I'm
not
sorry,
accept
I'm
that
learning,
title.
because this is the first time I've had to go through this one, so give me a break for a minute. Anyway, are there any questions, anything you need to ask? This is a big formality of what we're going through, but it's all within the law. Any comments or anything from the public? Then I would entertain a motion to adopt the Santaquin Local Building Authority budget.
Actually, we're not going to adopt
there-
anything.
Still in public hearing.
You're still in
We're
the
still
public
in
hearing
public
and we
hearing.
are,
I have to go
motion.
out of that to do this?
You need a motion to
Yeah.
close the public hearing.
and then a motion to close
That's
the
it?
meeting. That's correct.
We've got to find a more simple way to do this. Somebody's really messing with my mind.
This really is the easiest way.
Jeez. Okay, so let's close that meeting. So I
No.
would entertain a motion.
Close the
Nope,
public.
you need a motion to
public
close the
hearing.
public hearing.
Goodness sakes. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we close the public hearing
Very
for
good.
the,
boy, I appreciate that.
For the budget.
for the budget hearing.
A second?
I'll second.
Roll call, council?
No.
No.
Board.
Board member.
Board, how do I make that female when I do that?
Member
it's
is
already
generic.
Board member, membress. I don't know, board member.
It's already
Montoya,
it's already universal. It's okay.
board member Montoya. We gotta have some fun with this, right? I'm sorry. Board member Montoya.
Hi.
Board member Meekum.
Aye.
Board member Sidaway.
Aye.
Board member Hathaway.
Aye.
Thank you. We're out of that. Now can we vote on this?
No, there's no vote.
No.
Now we need to go out of this meeting and the adoption of that budget will be in 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
So we
true.
have
You just need to close the meeting now of the local building authority.
Yes.
And then do the next one.
So I would like to entertain a motion to close that. The meeting of the Santaquin Local Building Authority.
So moved.
That's good. Is there a second?
Second.
Can I do an all in favor? Okay.
You probably should do a
Are
roll
they
call.
chairman or are they?
They're board members. You're the chair.
Okay.
Meeting's not over yet.
You're
Sheesh.
the chair.
Board member Montoya.
Aye.
Board member Meekum. I'm going to forget your names before I get through this. Board member Sidaway.
Aye.
Board member Hathaway.
Aye.
Do they do this every year?
Yes.
Yes.
And we will do this again next week, Mayor. You might want to practice.
You know what,
do it
like,
once a-
let's,
you
let's
actually have
just
to do
write
it
it down so that all I have to do is read it.
A script.
Sheesh.
I think somebody already did that for you.
Okay.
You gave it back to her.
Just-
I hyped it up and you gave it back to her.
Oh, I thought we didn't need to deal with that. Okay, my fault.
So we're now back in a
So
council
We're
meeting.
back in a council meeting. We need to move on to the Santaquin Water District.
That's correct.
So
To
I-
convene a meeting
I
of that
need
board.
to entertain a motion to convene into the Santaquin Water District.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
Councilman Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway,
Aye.
Councilman Meekum,
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
Okay, we're now in the Santaquin Water District meeting. I would need a motion to move into a formal public hearing
On the budget.
for adoption of the
No,
Santaquin, well,
just a formal public hearing on
Yeah.
the budget.
so is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Board member.
Board Member Hathaway.
Aye.
Boy, this is too funny. Board Member Sidaway.
Aye.
Board Member Meekum.
Aye.
Board Member Montoya.
Aye.
You know, if you guys had to say all of this, I'd get a chance to laugh too. So, with the formal public hearing open for the Santaquin Water District, this is a chance wherewith Ben explained the way in which we use this. We've looked at the monies. It's the ability to work within our water district and handle those funds. I especially like, and I'll just make a comment, I especially like that we have a way in which we can work with the water shares and things like that we own. And I think the public needs to know, these are not just water shares that we have from Summit Creek. We get water shares from all over the place.
Right, water
When-
rights, uh-huh.
Yeah, and those water rights are from strange places that they trade around so that we're meeting the water trades for developments. And so it's very good. Are there any questions? Anything that you want to discuss? Is there anything from the public? Because it's going to confuse me if we have to talk about it too long. Thank you. Now, we've had that formal public hearing. We're able to look at it. We'll be able to adopt this in 2 weeks when we meet. And now we need to get out of this meeting
We
and
need
go
To close the public hearing.
by closing it. That's how you get out of this, and we may get out of the whole meeting here in just a minute, you know.
Good
So
recovery.
I would like to have a motion to close this
Close the-
public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Board Member Hathaway,
Aye.
Board Member Sidaway,
Aye.
Board Member Meekum,
Aye.
Board Member Montoya.
Aye.
We're out of that and back into the
No.
We're still in
water
meeting.
district
Yes.
that
Meeting.
we need to get out of again. So I would like to entertain a motion from someone to move on from this.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
Board Member Hathaway,
Aye.
Board Member Sidaway,
Aye.
Board Member Meekum,
Aye.
Board Member Montoya.
Aye.
Now I would like to have a motion to move back into our regular meeting, don't I?
You're already there.
You already did, you're there.
We never left it.
We are,
so we're
you are
just-
now back
Oh.
to being a mayor and council member.
Here I thought I'd entered the fourth dimension. I was waiting for Rod Serling to come in and start talking about something I'd just gone through.
At
It's
least.
been very entertaining. Mayor, may I be excused?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in 2 weeks to do all this over again.
Yeah.
And more.
And at that time,
Thanks,
Councilmember Adcock should be here, so keep practicing.
Yeah. Oh, my heavens. Amelia, you and I will have a good, or Emily, you and I will have a good discussion before we go on. I know. I did it again. Thank you for your patience. And this is just not something that I sit down and do every night. So I want to move on now. We can go into the ordinances. We've already touched on the new businesses, so we need to go into the ordinances. Now, commercial cosmetology definition, that came up. That was something that we really need to get a handle on just for clarifications, I believe. Jason has an explanation of that. Also, the menu board amendment. And what I'd like you to do is, would you just take both of those, and
Yep.
then we'll entertain motions for both of them.
Yeah, so Norm, if you could bring up the ordinance. So just a quick introduction on this one. The Planning Commission made a proposal to create a commercial cosmetology definition. This is going to be for things such as doing nails, hair, skincare, that sort of thing. I guess the definition is basically an establishment which are designed and intended to serve the daily or frequent cosmetology services needed of the surrounding population. Such establishments typically include hairstyling, skincare, tanning, makeup application, eyelash treatments, waxing, nail care, permanent makeup applications, and other beauty treatments. This does not include tattooing. That's something that we have a separate definition for, and which under permanent makeup applications, which doesn't allow tattooing. So that's why that's written the way that it is. So we have this definition now. We have a desire for this type of an establishment to be allowed in the Main Street Business District's areas, the areas of that particular zone. So those are this ordinance is basically defining that term and then allowing this land use as a permitted use in those three areas, being the Central Business District, the Main Street Commercial, and the Main Street Residential. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on this.
It does not affect the residential home occupations where ladies do hair.
That
And I
home
think that needs
occupation
to
is a
be clear.
completely different definition, and people can still can do that and are allowed to do that. They just are limited on the number of customers that come to their home. This would be a full-on commercial use, and this ordinance basically allows it just in that Main Street Business District zone.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we permitted, or do we have the authority to require that before an applicant come and apply for a business license under that category, that they offer proof of licensure through DOPL or some kind of certificate? Are we legally allowed to require that, or is it strictly left up to the public customer to inquire about that and verify.
If it's a requirement of of that business, then yes.
A city
Okay.
requirement or a state requirement?
State requirement.
A state requirement?
Don't most of them have to have a copy of their license and certification posted? Isn't that part of the business?
Could we find out about that?
So you're
I mean, I'm fine with this tonight, but could we follow up and circle back to
so
have a
you're
report
talking
on that?
to these specific types of businesses.
Yes.
You want to know about they get the state license before
Correct.
they get a city license.
Correct.
Yeah, typically we want that state license. In fact, we ask for it on the application. However, I don't know as if it's necessarily a requirement, but because they're kind of two separate processes. Sometimes we rely on the state license in order for us to be able to issue. It's this weird dance because sometimes the state wants them to get a city license before they get a state license.
Before
So
they'll issue.
we're always trying to kind of work with whoever to get that done. But
Okay.
I don't know as if it's something we can require, but it's certainly something that we do, encourage and want people to do.
Okay. Well, I think it's a fantastic idea to include a specific definition of that type of business. And if you could just maybe circle back when you get an answer
Sure.
one way or the other, I would appreciate that.
Yep, we'll do.
Jason, I'd like to break it down a little bit further if we can.
Okay.
Being as I used to own one of these on Main Street. The question here I have is that I think an owner of a building could come in and apply for a beauty shop. The only time a license would come in for the cosmetologist is he or she would have to have the license to be able to do the hair. So the question is are we tying the hands of an owner that wants to buy a salon? Because the people that actually do the work has to have the license to do what they do, right? And yes, it does have, their licenses do have to be posted on the wall. But I just wondering if we're not, you know what I'm saying? So somebody can own the building and not be a cosmetologist, but the people in it would have to.
Right. And that's why sometimes we're not really strict on, we need to see
Right.
other licenses before that, is because it's something that they're accountable to the
Yes.
state that
Yep.
we don't necessarily get too involved with unless it's really pressing.
Are there any other questions with this? Then I would entertain a motion that we adopt the ordinance for commercial cosmetology definition and land use.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt ordinance number 06-01-2022, an ordinance amending Santaquin City Code to define commercial cosmetology and permit the land use in all areas of the Main Street Business District zone, providing for codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date for the ordinance.
I've had a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Hathaway. Councilman Sitaway. Jeez, that last thing's just screwed me up completely. Sorry. Please make a change on the notes of that minute. I made a mistake there. Councilman Hathaway.
Aye.
Councilman Sitaway.
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
It passes. Ordinance for the menu board adjustment. Can you take care of that?
Yes.
And we'll move along.
Yeah, so and you saw the mayor pass me a note. The reason for that is he wanted to make sure we could talk about this in this meeting. We do have an application before us for a McDonald's to be built in Santaquin City. That has been something that's been presented at a DRC meeting, which is a public meeting. And really, that was the reason for why this was brought up as a need to amend the ordinance. McDonald's and similar fast food restaurants nowadays have multiple drive-throughs for their business, and with that comes several menu boards. Right now, our ordinance currently said that they were only allowed to have 2 menu boards per site. In the case of this McDonald's, they have a couple menu boards per drive aisle to really kind of help the flow, and so people can look at what they want to order and then pull up and be able to order again with the menu right there in front of them. So there's really a 2 or 3 or 4 components to this. As Norm's got up there, There's a slight modification to the area requirement for some of the directional and instructional signs. Again, with this McDonald's, they want to have those types of that type of signage so people know where to pull forward, so that they can wait for their order. And so it's just a slight modification there to really help conform to what they need. And I imagine it'll probably be similar to other fast food restaurants that may come in the future. Other areas is basically some clarification of some language to the Planning Commission may approve additional menu boards or different locations depending upon circumstances. And really the requirement, instead of 2 menu boards per site, we propose to change it to 2 menu boards per drive-in aisle. And then there's a little bit of clarification on location of the menu board being located in the front of the building. It must meet the minimum front setback on the primary frontage. There was some discussion with the Planning Commission on that, and I think that helps clarify that. So, do you have any questions about this proposal?
I think this is really smart to do, mainly so that we can move the traffic. You know, this is going to be up in the Macy's complex, and it's going to be right on that off-ramp road until we get some rework done on the roads. It'll never change, and it may back up, and we don't want it to back up and cause anything going down Highway 6. That could become a real mess. So all of these things are taken into account. I think this is a great thought to make a change. I would entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance change.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 0602-2022, an ordinance amending Santaquin City Code to allow 2 drive-in restaurant menu boards per drive-in aisle and allow larger directional and instructional signs, providing for codification, correction of Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date for the ordinance.
We've had a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Councilman Member Montoya,
Aye.
Councilman Meekum,
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway,
Aye.
Councilman
Aye.
Hathaway. Motion passed. I want to move on to the discussion and possible action on the next few. Some of these I think we can move through, but I want to start, John, with you with the RAP tax. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing with this. This is tax money that we had a chance, that was changed, adopted, approved some time ago, and we're really doing things with it. And we're seeing that, and we're going to adopt that and make sure that it's marked everywhere that it goes. So go ahead, John.
Yes, thank you. This is the 3rd year of the 10-year that's been voted in time period for utilizing that sales tax for recreation, arts, and parks, the RAP tax. Yes. Can you hear me okay? Speak a little closer.
Green light on,
Yeah.
and you're good.
Okay, perfect. We actually jumped quite a bit this year. Our traditional amount the last 2 years has been $58,000. We actually jumped up to $130,000 this year, and that's for multiple reasons. One was that the committee had recommended putting aside about $12,000 last year and not spending it, so that was kind of saved. And then because tax money had come in a little bit higher the previous year, there was a little bit of overage, as well as the current revenue that's increased. So that's why we have $130,000. This year we didn't have any local nonprofits submit for any requested money, and so our parks and recreation departments have solicited or did solicit 22 potential projects, and so the RAP tax committee reviewed those and spent quite a bit of time discussing the pros and cons, and really ultimately came down to the idea that, excuse me, choking on my tongue here, just the idea of picking a big project that would really benefit the community for decades to come. And so the main amount of money, so you'll notice in the yellow, there was 7 projects that were recommended toward being approved to City Council, and the largest one was $96,500 to Theater Island Park to put in a pavilion there with cement and electricity and some potential other improvements there at the park. Other items you'll notice is finishing up replacing picnic tables at Centennial Park. We did about half of that last year. And then developing the cultural arts and putting money toward all the different arts, whether it be murals, concerts in the park series, art festival, etc. Additional money for projects at the museum. Some funds for a new community outreach app. It would be a one-year thing with community services to try, which would reach the residents ideally a little bit more effective as far as recreation programming. An ice machine at our concession stand that would benefit. Ice could go to all 3 of our concession stands, and then developing some equipment at the new pickleball courts where people can actually put their rackets to save their space in line, and it just helped for an orderly way to use the pickleball courts as they get really busy. So that was the different projects that were recommended. Did you have any questions?
I do. So the park banner holders.
I skipped that one. I apologize.
I thought that those were already paid for and installed, or are you looking to add to them?
We did 2 locations. The idea would be that we would add another 6 locations. So the first 2 were just pilots to see if it worked.
Okay, and where would those be? What are those locations? Do you know?
Multiple key locations. One, Highway 6, Summit Ridge.
Okay.
Where right now we just put a banner and it kind of tips over and the wind blows it. Other sites, we're looking at somewhere down on Highland Drive and where Center Street, Canyon Road, we currently have a banner there, somewhere in that vicinity. Other sites we need to look at a little bit closely because they need to be sites where the city owns land. We actually, the Parks Department puts sleeves in the ground, and then we can actually pull out the whole banner and the metal frame and then cap it when we're not using it. So it's kind of a slick deal. So
Okay.
Thank you. I did miss that. I apologize.
And then the app, I think that's a fantastic idea, because I don't always find out about things because I'm not on Facebook anymore. So after the first year, are you planning, like if it's successful, are you planning to just roll the cost of that subscription into
into our operations budget? Yes.
Okay.
And that has worked quite successful with multiple cities in Utah, Lehigh, Nephi recently, so some larger ones as well as smaller cities. The residents have found that having that app, it's an actual app for our city, not our city, our city's community services recreation, that reminders can actually pop up on their phone, and they can actually choose or elect to, hey, I just want to find out about the city art events or the city's community special events. I don't want to know about sports.
So they can filter it.
They can filter it. And we would actually add library, museum, seniors, our whole department would be under that.
Cool. Okay, so this 1 year is kind of a pilot study.
Correct.
To see how it works. Okay, and then the pavilion at the Allen Park. Do you have an estimated size that came with that estimated dollar amount? And
yes.
How many tables?
So it's kind of a mirror of a pavilion that's in Nephi at their Canyon Park. It's a hexagon shape. So instead of a large 30 by 60 that we have in some of the parks, this would be, I want to say it's about 28 feet. I actually went and measured the one in Nephi yesterday. The cement actually goes 31 feet by 37 feet. Okay. But it holds about 40, I want to say about, with you put X amount of tables in there, about 40 people. Oh. And it's, I would say, at least $20,000 to $30,000 less than the 30 by 60 foot rectangle.
And where is that planning? Like, have you scouted out? I'm sure you have.
In the master plan, it has it right on the left before you go up the hill to the playground. So right behind where hole 9 is on the disc golf course, not next to hole 9, but right there on the left side.
Okay, so it wouldn't obstruct the frolf.
There's a lot of space there, and we're talking with Parks and Public Works, and I think the thought would be we would want to run water to it as well as electrical.
Okay.
And put a cement pad under it.
Okay. Well, it would be nice to have some shade. Yeah. Up there.
We have a youth camp up there today with 40 youth, and they're just up on top of the knoll with a couple pop-up tents. So that's an example of a group that would use, all the summer camps would use the shade, as
Okay.
well as it would become a site we would actually rent for a pavilion
Okay.
opportunity.
And then would the roof on that, do you think that would be a steel roof or a shingle roof?
They're steel.
Still.
They're
Okay.
steel.
And it would have posts all the way around.
Mhm. 7-foot posts,
Okay,
or
would-
7-inch wide posts.
Would all the ingress and egress be open around the posts, or would
Yes.
it be kind of fenced around?
Nope,
Everything's
completely opened.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
That's a
any
good question.
comment
Thank
from you, Councilman Hathaway? You attended the meeting. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel that the committee done an excellent job. I think John, the way John did it with the same way we do our budget yearly retreat, he had the each thing on the board and let the board members put the little stickies on them and grade them, and then had quite a discussion with the winners and losers of that, I guess. But the committee pretty much really focused down on, they really wanted that pavilion. So I thought it went really well, and I thought that was a good way to do it.
Just so that it's on record, how many members in the committee that were making this decision?
There's 5.
And they're all part of the community?
Mm-hmm. We have a representative from our community services board, and then at-large members of the community.
Good.
And then from staff, Councilmember Hathaway, myself as community services director, Brian Meekum, our parks supervisor, and then Sean and Joe Eves, our events rec supervisor, was there as well.
We had a meeting today with Division of Wildlife that were here for some time, and there were a lot of comments right up front about the amount of fish that go into this and the use that goes on at that pond. This is becoming quite a park, and I think we're only encouraging more use of it, and I applaud you in everything that you've done. So,
Thank
I
you.
have one more question,
okay.
if I may. So the walking trail around the park, money was set aside to kind of let that build up and put a little bit in that pool, if you will, every year until it could be paid for. So Councilmember Hathaway was saying that the material that was proposed for that, it was explained to the committee that it wouldn't hold up under the weight of vehicles driving over it, and for the time being, we still need to use the park for rodeo parking.
Correct.
And so it makes sense to me that we wouldn't want to pay to install something and then just have it crumble shortly after it's put in. But was there any discussion about still saving up some money for that project and looking at another material, or in the future when we have different rodeo parking, having some money set aside to still do that project?
Yes, we did discuss that. And we had an updated cost estimate, which was a lot more than was announced last year. So I
Okay.
think the appetite to continue to save $10,000 for more than 5 years seemed to almost commit future committee members to a project that, or even commit future city council members that approve it to a project that could or could not happen.
Okay.
And not having in the horizon a timeline for not parking at the park. There's other things we could do as far as asphalt, and when you do that, you've got to do it wider, 8 feet versus 4. So a lot of things were discussed. There was a couple other projects as well that were long-term projects, thinking about a stage at the future park behind City Hall. And it just became something that I think was clear to the committee, that instead of saving for things that weren't yet fully planned or for sure on that horizon, that they thought, let's put the money towards something that we can actually do now, see the benefits,
Okay.
but that concept can still work in the future. To put money aside, it would just be trying to figure out how to best do that and
When it can actually happen.
multiple years in a row.
Yeah. Okay. That answers my questions.
Okay.
Mayor, can I mention one more thing as well?
Sure.
I apologize. One thing with the Theodore Allen Pavilion is we actually applied 2 years in a row for outdoor recreation grant money for that, and were not successful. So we did try different funding sources, and as you can tell with the budget that the city's capital projects go through. It is quite a competitive project, and so this was a great way to accomplish something and continue to develop this park. One thing that I will note is there was a little bit of flexibility with that $96,000, knowing that costs are going to increase, and we wanted to be able to have a little bit of money at the end to do some other improvements at the park as able, not knowing if things were to increase significantly before we were able to purchase that. One recommendation that I would actually make is that we reduce that $96,500 by $4,000 and put $4,000 toward recreation equipment. The committee felt like the residents really needed to be paying for their own program equipment. And one of the things that we explained was that much like we're filling inflation as a city with every single thing we buy, we're filling that with every piece of sports equipment that we buy as well. And we will in the future need to raise fees, but by putting a very small portion, even up to $4,000, I think we had requested 12. But even if we could get $4,000 toward equipment, it would still be able to move forward with the Theodore Allen projects without affecting that budget, and would still give a shot in the arm to the equipment replacement.
So basically, you just want to move the 4,000 out of there and into equipment.
Yeah.
So that modification.
That would be the one modification that I would recommend, but approving everything else.
The grant entities were saying that probably the biggest reason that we weren't approved for grants up there was because of the low usage, right? So in trying to increase how frequently that park is utilized, that increases our odds of receiving grant money in the future. Like, not a guarantee, but it kind of helps us with that factor, correct?
Correct. But yeah, just pulling $4,000 from that project would still go forward with just a little bit less of a slush and putting a little bit of money toward sports
The
equipment.
equipment, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions for me?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to approve this RAP tax expenditures that the committee had proposed with one change, if you want to do so, of the 4,000 to equipment.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
I had a second, third, and a fourth all at once.
Is that called a roll call?
Yeah. Councilmember Hathaway.
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway.
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
Good. We're going to spend the money on the RAP tax where it was supposed to be and designed to be spent. So thank you. We had a Utah outdoor recreation grant that was given to us. We approved it as just a regular motion 2 weeks ago. It has to be a resolution. And even though we've approved it, we need to bring it forward again tonight. We'd just like to have a vote. So by resolution, I would entertain approval of the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant that was funded at $60,500 from the state.
So moved.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, as I heard that.
Second.
Councilman Hathaway.
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway.
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
With that being approved, we want to make an expenditure and order the restroom for the Prospector View Park. We're not getting the cart before the horse because we now have a permit to build the parking lot. The parking lot is going to be staked in the next couple of days, or at least started underway. We've got things moving. Just to add one little thing, we met with the state today, and the state has approved that we can go across their land. They will have input, but we've now made the trail possible to go all the way up through Pole Canyon and over to our park and only cross the road. So we are adding some incredible features to this. So with that, I would like to ask, are there any questions about the restroom that we need to order? any time frames or anything that you're worried about, because it doesn't come tomorrow. And we're not going to end up with a restroom and nothing to put it in. I guarantee you, because we've got 4 months before we see it. Okay? With that, I would like to entertain a motion to purchase the restroom.
So moved.
Second?
All second.
Seconded. Councilman Hathaway?
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway?
Aye.
Councilman Meekum?
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya?
Aye.
Good. We're going to purchase a toilet. That's kind of cool.
Wahoo.
Yeah, it's one of those that don't smell so bad.
feel like Congress.
Now,
Right, yeah.
item number 12 is the CDBG. We have to do this every 3 years. This is the grant funding that comes. It's called the Community Development Block Grants. These are things that will help us build all kinds of things throughout the city. They also use it within the senior citizens and a few other places. If we don't approve this, then we fall out of grace. It'll be 3 more years before we can go in. We've been involved in this for a few years. It was, there were some changes that were put into the language. Those have all been reviewed by council. So any comments? We good to go with the way that it was put?
Yes, Mayor, I had made some comments and suggested that may want to go back on some of the prior agreements and include some amendments in this. That has generally been done. There are a couple of things that I had recommended that were not included, but it is in a condition that I can approve it, or I can sign it as having reviewed and approved it.
Yeah, I know you have to sign that too,
Yeah.
so. All right. Any questions on it? This is something we have only a couple of days left to get this taken care of. Have you had a chance to look at it? You know where we're at? All right. I would like to entertain and we make a motion to sign the CDBG funding interlocal agreement.
So moved.
It's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded. Councilman Hathaway?
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway?
Aye.
Councilman Meekum?
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 13 is an employee contract that we generally have for all of our staff. And we have had Shannon working as a financial the finance director for the last 5 months. She's done a tremendous job. And she has not had this contract. We haven't taken time to put this into play. This came because of some changes that were made with Aaron that used to work, and so now I think we're bringing this into play. You've had a chance to go over it. It's been published. Are there any questions that you have on this?
Mayor, I'd just clarify if I could that we don't have contracts for all of our employees, but we do for directors and management level staff.
Yeah, didn't I say that?
It
Staff?
sounded like you indicated that it was all staff. It's not all staff. It's just
Oh.
directors and management level.
Okay. I stand corrected. I thought I was pretty close. Sheesh. I was waiting to get hit by the pool noodle, but he didn't have it tonight. Thank you. I appreciate the work that she puts in, and it has been stellar, especially realizing when she took this job, we still had Ben and had him for a few months. We've utilized him for the last few weeks, really downloading a lot of things. It has been a learning thing, but I appreciate anything I've asked of you, and I'm sure anything anybody has asked of you, we've been able to get through, except for the census.
I took the time this afternoon.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It took me about 3 hours, but it's done.
See, she's good. That's good.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion that we approve the employment contract for our finance director.
So moved.
So we've had a motion and a second.
Second.
Councilman Hathaway,
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway,
Aye.
Councilman Meekum,
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
Thank you. We need to move into city organizational structure. Now, I want the people to know something, and the discussions over the next couple of things may change, and it may be dragged out for some time, and I appreciate everybody being here. However, I have a family thing that I have to attend 30 minutes from now. And so we're going to get through absolutely everything we can. And if we're not at that point, I will turn the responsibility over to our Mayor Pro Tem, who is Councilman Meekum, and he will finish up any issues that are there. I'll be available on phone if for some reason you want to tell me something, but I think that we can move forward where we're at. So the thing that we accomplished a little over a month ago was to start to look at reorganizing our city organization. And there were some questions that came up, especially when within days of that, Dennis Marker handed in his resignation, and we had to take a whole new look at it. The trust that we put into our new city administrator was, we want you to help form this so that it is a team and a look and a structure with which you can work, ensure that we can keep within budget, look at innovative ways that will help us, and that the city, the employees that work for the city can feel at home and know that we're going to grow and change with this. We are at a little bit of a crossroads because of some of those changes, but we're also at a crossroad to where we have a new city manager that has maybe some different skills and maybe wants to look at things a little differently than we have in the past. And I applaud him for this look. We have gone over this together, and I am going to turn this over to you, Norm.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the trust that you placed in me. I appreciate that and look forward to a bright future. What I've done is I've prepared kind of a series of slides that will kind of help us to see where we've been and where we're going and what we recommend to move forward. What you're looking at on the screen right now is was our current structure before Ben and Dennis left. If we move to the next slide, you'll be able to see that we now have myself as the city manager. Operations manager is currently vacant, and the assistant city manager is currently vacant as well. So we have had some turnover. I would just say that we've had not only those two positions, but we've had a police officer that has resigned, and we also have had our Ryan Harris staff planner, our Ryan Harris, that has also resigned. Moving on to bigger and better things, and wish them the very best. But as we go through this, that will kind of give you some background of where we're at and where we're going and what we would recommend as a final action tonight on the next agenda item. From there, what we would recommend is that, so these are some structural changes that we would recommend. First, we would recommend and have decided with the mayor that we would move the police department, and I'm not sure why it's not showing up on that screen there, but move the police department and the fire department out from the previous operations manager and put them back under the mayor for purview. And then, as you can see, I would have a dotted line there to the city manager for things like budget and staffing and employment, et cetera, for those things, and any other things that the mayor delegates to me for that situation, for those two areas. I would also rearrange the assistant city manager and operations manager to having a little bit different sphere of influence. And we'll go to that next, and I'll be able to help you understand as we walk through this. And please stop me if you have any questions and where we're going with this. So those are first steps that we would take. Move finance over to under the where I would typically have community development and also move community development under a new assistant city manager, and there's some reasons for that. Finance primarily is going to be more my responsibility, and so it makes more sense to put that under my purview rather than an assistant city manager, and moving community development over to a future assistant city manager. The city recorder, legal would also stay under there, and then public works, community services, and engineering would still stay under the other side of the purview, and we'll go over that here in a minute with additional things. We would hire a full-time engineer that would help backfill John Lundell, our city engineer. This would be a staff engineer to be able to help with some of the duties that John is taking over as I've stepped more away from the engineering and the public works and the infrastructure side of things, and John steps more into that. And then having an engineer to backfill him. We have made some temporary measures on that where we've gotten some outside help. We have an engineering firm that's helping us more than they have been before. So we've kind of filled that gap a little bit, but we still need to fill it some more. The new assistant city manager would be, so this is a little bit different than the structure that you might have seen before, where most of this would fall under the old operations manager, but we're now trying to separate under a new assistant city manager more of the policy side of things. As you can see, HR policy, risk management, insurance, workers' compensation, ordinances, and policy and legal, where that was under the operations manager before, and then making sure that we can have the HR, the process side of things, more under the finance director, which is where it's been again, but just moving that over to the, oh, sorry, I'm not getting the slides to Lynn. I apologize, Lynn. Let me see if I can get out of I'll probably just have to get out of the slide mode and see if we can see that now. Can you see that now, Lynn? Okay. So I won't be able to step through the animations. That's probably what's causing the issue, but so that's the slide that we're on right now. Again, this is just moving things forward, moving things around, and where they seem to fit the best. The next slide that we would go to is I've got to move this out of the way so you guys can see it, and let's see if I put it up over here. We would, for the time being, we would move the operations manager off to the side and kind of parking lot it for a minute temporarily, as we've talked about before. The things and the items that are needed by either an operations manager or the assistant city manager are crucial items, and the former operations manager has been doing a lot of these things like risk management, workers' comp, insurance, etc. Most of the time before that, we would deal with those as more fires rather than preventive stuff. Now we've got a safety committee and a health and wellness committee and a different look at our employee employee evaluation. So all of those things have been done just in the last year with the operations manager that were all things that needed to be done, but we just didn't have, between Shannon and Ben and myself, didn't really have the bandwidth to do. So again, I want to make sure that we understand this is a temporary move to put the operations manager off to the side for a minute or a couple of months or whatever that looks like. Be a slight budget savings over that period of time that we don't have somebody in that position, but again, kind of growing into it. I would still maintain the areas that I'm over right now. Some of the things that we're doing, like the city hall, I've been more involved with than John has. John has been more involved with the tank and the booster pump station than I have, but more of that would kind of fall off as we get those projects done. So for the next 6 to 8 months or a little bit more on the city hall, probably, I would still maintain that look and that purview over the 3 departments that I've had before, department directors, and then also adding with that the finance. And then the assistant city manager would, again, have community development and move over in that direction and have that purview for that. And so, sorry, I keep thinking I can push the space bar and it doesn't work because I'm not in animation mode. Community development, in the community development area, we would, under the new assistant manager, city manager, we would promote Camille Moffett to the staff planner, which we've already done because we lost Ryan. That was something that absolutely needed to be done, and now we're looking to backfill her administrative assistant role, and that's actually out for advertisement and will close here in the next week or so probably. and that will be a budget savings on the Camille side of things, promoting her because she's not at the same level as Ryan was, but also budget neutral on backfilling her as an administrative assistant. And lastly, we would hire a staff planner of a level 2 or 3, which would have more experience than, for instance, just coming out of school or even just a couple of years. They would have more experience. And then also in the particular move that we're talking about, we would have, we would not backfill or have a community development director at this time. With a planner level 2 or 3, they would be able to basically act as many of the roles that Jason currently has with the community development director position without actually having that title. It would be maybe something that they would move into in a title over several years as they get to know the city and processes and that kind of thing. And so that is where we're at with that particular item, and I would recommend, Mayor, that we move on to the last item, number 15, to consider a contract for assistant city manager.
Okay, before we go to there, are there any questions that came up as you looked at that? Because I think what we've been working towards is a net zero change in our budget and the way we're looking at things, and try to utilize people in the best possible ways that we can. And with the savings of budget, probably look forward and see if there are places where we need help, and that will be the responsibility that Norm will have, as well as the assistant city manager.
Yeah,
so that's the way I look at this.
We would take things slowly. That's what we've talked about with council and the mayor, is to just kind of ease into it. We're not going to do a knee-jerk reaction. We're just going to do it very planned and methodically, and with what we believe is good planning, and that would take us where we believe we would need to go. Again, right now it would be a net savings on the budget for a period of time until such time as we either fill the operations manager position or fill in other areas and that kind of thing.
There was one question I had, and that was on the org chart layout, and that was the relationship in the line to Brett and myself. Is there not a dotted line that we can put in there, because the structure says go through all of this. There are things that he and I need to discuss at times, and probably, I don't know how it fits on that layout.
I think that's a given, Mayor, but we can certainly add that line in there, and we'll do that so that we have that ability to do that.
I think it's a given. I don't know that we need it, but it's certainly just something we understand.
Sure.
That's the way the city's set up anyway.
Right.
Okay,
I think
let's,
it was in there before.
was it?
I thought it was in there on the last one, wasn't it? Because we do need to have
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
I just
there
think we
is,
need
yeah.
to stretch that out and make
And I
sure that
missed
it's
that.
part of it as well.
And it's not even a dotted line, it's a full-on
yeah.
line, and so
So
I will,
you can go back to that one and
Yep.
just take it over and add that extra line from the top of
I
where the
will.
fire chief is and over.
I will. I certainly will do that. I
Okay.
appreciate you catching that. I apologize that I missed that nuance on that one.
All right, well,
With all the bubbles moving around and everything, I missed a line.
it's all
Dang
that
it.
yellow stuff that was coming up. I wanted to make a motion to go into a CDA or something. I wasn't sure.
Please don't. So,
Sorry, I just had to say that. Why don't we go ahead and move into this, your next one?
on item number 15, Mayor, what I would recommend, Mayor and Council, is that we consider a resolution 0607-2022 with this assistant city manager position for a very qualified individual that we already have on staff that can move up and help us jump right into this and get going with very little downtime, knowing that we're now down 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. We really need to be able to move forward with this and make sure to fill the gap. And sorry, Lynn, I'll save that for you. I'll share that with you. I apologize. I keep forgetting that.
So I have a couple of questions
Okay.
when the time is appropriate.
Okay, so if I may, Mayor, I would like to make that recommendation that we look at, that we promote Jason Bond to the assistant city manager with a raise in salary commensurate with that amount of additional work. And he would still be over, if we go back to the org chart, he would still be over community development, would be working with legal, and would be working over the city recorder as well, would fall under him as it had before with the operations manager, but just now as the assistant city manager.
Is this something that you feel fits right in with the way that you envision you're planning to go, as well as the investment that the city has made in Jason's education, as well as your own?
Yes, sir.
And where we can head.
Yes, sir. This is the very best fit. Again, moving into it and being able to hit the ground running and not have any delays and that kind of thing. And that's kind of one reason why we put the operations manager off to the side, because if or as we need to, we can then recruit for that and try and figure out how to fill that position, or however we feel like that needs to be done. But right now, it's going to take, like it is with me, and I missed the line, it's going to take Jason some time to get up to speed with the assistant city manager, should you choose to make that motion and approve that contract. But again, I think it's the best move for the city. I know it's the best move for the city to help us move forward as efficiently and cleanly as possible.
And we can say to ourselves, well, there's a net savings. Now, is it a good move?
Absolutely.
And you're 100% behind it.
I'm 110% behind it, Mayor.
So with that recommendation, what's the discussion? Or what are the questions?
Well, one of my questions is that as busy as community development is and is going to continue to be, I don't want Jason or anybody else to never see their family, to be burned out and worked into the ground. And that's been a concern for a long time. And we know, at least I know, that Ben and Norm have been putting in far more hours than either of you were compensated for. And I think we need to be really, really careful, because our employees are our greatest asset. We've got to take care of our people. So that's one of the concerns I have with continuing to do your regular job and take on these other. My concern is for you and your well-being and your family.
One question, or at least one comment I'd like to make with that. I agree, and I know that our staff works very hard, and we need to make sure that we find a way to rein in the hours and take care of your family and your needs, and we support you wholeheartedly on that. The one thing that I caught from the layout that you have is the immediate replacement of a level 2 or 3 planner, which is really someone at a less talent state than where you are, because of the education that you have to bring you into public administration. And this fits within your goal, but how long is it going to take to bring that planner 2 or 3, level 2 or 3, I'm sure that's what that means, into play and up to speed, which will alleviate some of that time frames that she's talking about.
So if I may, I'd like to speak to that just a little bit, and that's one of the reasons why we've talked about moving into this slowly, because Jason's concern is also that we don't, his family is first, obviously, but that we also don't leave community development high and dry. And so that's one of the reasons why moving that under him and having him have that purview as we grow that person and hire that person, and as Camille moves up, then that allows us to be able to do that a little bit more slowly. Now, that's going to put potentially some of the things that the operations manager or myself are working on a little bit on the back burner for a minute, but I would imagine within a couple of months, 3 months maybe, we would likely be able to have that person in place that would, for instance, in one aspect, could then attend planning commission instead of Jason, or with Jason as he's training, but Jason wouldn't be required. In fact, it says it in the contract, he may need to attend planning commission, but he must attend city council meetings. So we've thought about those things, and we've tried to be, again, as careful as we can to plan for that accordingly. I don't. Do you have anything else to add to that, Jason? Or
no, and yeah, that's my major concern is community development. Obviously, losing Ryan is a big deal, and if I were to be considered for something different, I don't want that department to just be left to nobody. And we have Camille, who's moved up into Planner 1, and she's very capable, and I'm really happy about her ability to step up in that position. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that I I took care of community development, and so I think there's a way to do that, and I think getting another planner to not just help Camille, but also to further support the things that are happening in community development, I think would be that. And like Norm said, this is a transition, or this would be a transition. So we would do whatever we need to do to make sure that it's going to be taken care of and not left high and dry.
Okay. Thank you. My other question is in regards to the contract.
Okay.
I didn't remember off the top of my head if there had ever been any either dollar amount or number of conferences to attend each year, or if it had been unlimited as described in this particular contract.
It's not necessarily unlimited. It's related to budget, right? So it's related to what the city council adopts as the budget, and we try to put those in there according to what we feel like is the best way. Typically, that would be either for myself or for Jason would be 2 to 3 conferences a year typically. Maybe myself has a little extra because I've got my engineering degree and I need to keep that licensure according to my contract. That's a different conference, but he would also potentially go to a planning conference where I wouldn't. So we've talked about everything from, with previously Ben and I and Jason would alternate between going to like the national ICMA conference, and we can certainly continue to do that and make sure that we're mindful of budget and all of those things. And so it's not, I wouldn't say that it's unlimited. It really is limited to the amount of budget that we can afford and that you approve for those conferences. But typically, 1 national conference and then potentially 2 more within the state or close by conferences is typically what we try to go to. But also remember that we have ULCT that's also in there that we try to get to with you guys as well to make sure that we're doing that. We don't really consider that a conference. We consider that more being with our legislators and supporting you and helping you to understand if you have questions or whatever while they're there. That really isn't what I would say like a continuing education conference for us. That's really a support for the city.
Right. Well, and I 100% am in support of employees getting continued training, keeping up licensure, things like that. I just think, especially with the unknowns in the economy right now, we need to be careful about like carte blanche.
And certainly we're not. And that's another
and you
place
never
where,
have been, but I just wanted to bring it up.
But to Dave's credit as well, asking Ben about the potential for the economy, that's a place where if funds don't come in or if the the economy starts to have a problem, those are areas where we can scale back. But remember, even clear down to our water operators, they require continuing education credits that we have to get somehow, and typically those are at conferences, but we can also figure out other things as well.
Right. Well, as an educator, I am a full supporter of continued education and training and improving skills. I'm very passionate about that.
And I'd say for Norm and I, we look at conferences as opportunities, not necessarily entitlements that we need to be at these conferences, whether they be national or whatever. So if there's something that comes up, we certainly will take a backseat if needs be. Frankly, since I've worked for the city, I think we've had a certain number of conferences that are budgeted for, and there are times, several of those years, I've not even been able to go to all of them. And part of it's just because of the workload here and the situation at that time. So yeah, we don't look at conferences as we need to be at our conferences, but there are some conferences that do make a big difference to be at, to make sure that we are understanding the legislative updates and other things that are current in the state. So
and for licensure and things like that.
We're happy even in the moment if it's not going to work out. We're happy to consider things on an as needed basis if a conference is not in the best interest of the city.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, and you have to go in a minute.
I know, but I want to ask, are there other questions?
Mine ain't so much as the question is that as I look at this and maybe it's answered in there somewhere, but is there a safety valve for the city here in these contracts that I know with employees, we do a 90-day evaluations or whatever. Is there any kind of an evaluation in these contracts that, God forbid that somebody doesn't, do the job, but is there that if they're not doing the job, are we all of a sudden committed to that contract with, maybe I'm not getting it out right, but is there not a period of
Probation.
You're talking about a probation period?
or yeah.
So typically, there's not in the contracts. When we've got an employee that's been here 5 years and is moving to a management level position, to me and to the mayor and they've already proven their worth. There really isn't something that I would think that we would need to have in there as far as that type of a deal. When we're hiring a new hire, it's always a good idea to have that. It's not called probationary period now. It's called a introductory period. And that certainly is something, because that's more of an unknown. This is in my opinion, and again, my 110% support of Jason is that's not needed in these types of contracts, because they've already proven where they're at. I mean, I look at a Rod Hirsch contract that's been here 31 or 32 years. There are termination clauses in the contract, but obviously there's also some protection for both the city and the employee as well. So that's what I would offer on that comment. And Brett, I don't know if you want to add to that, or I don't know we need to.
Well, you don't really need to. The protection is you have the ability to terminate the contract, but in most circumstances there are consequences to that, and that's where Norm's talking about the protections. There's an obligation to pay severance and certain things like that that fall in, unless it's termination for cause.
Right.
And I'm not, no, I don't want you to take that. I'm not, I have all faith in the world in Jason. I just was thinking about all the contracts, really. But it makes sense what I'm understanding, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, Jeff? Lynn?
No. Ben's not here.
Lynn Meekin?
Oh, Lynn, sorry.
No, I'm good.
I need some Q-tips, evidently.
You're gonna make something on a CRA?
So, Mayor, I would recommend that we offer that contract to Jason, and any motion would include a 7% raise from his current salary, as well as having Brett and I fill the contract out specific to that individual. Right now, it's a generic blank contract, and there's some things with pronouns and other things in there that need to be changed. But for the consideration, that's what I would recommend.
So with that, I would entertain a motion for that resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 0607-2022, a resolution of the Santaquin City Council authorizing an employment agreement for the assistant city manager position, and that we fill that position with Mr. Jason Bond with a 7% raise, and any other thing that Norm said that I forgot.
That would be additions with Brett Rich.
Legal counsel.
Yes, legal counsel.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Hathaway.
Aye.
Councilman Sidaway.
Aye.
Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
Councilmember Montoya.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move forward with that immediately.
We will.
You'll review that, I guess, tomorrow, and we can get the contracts taken care of. Yep. And we can move forward with a full staff at this point. The one thing that I would caution is, or at least to all of us, is we are moving, we're looking at different things. I think Norm, with his management, he may want to make sure that we're getting the right engineer in there, that we're getting the right planner in there, and we may have a couple of other moves that we need to look at as we go forward. I just think, knowing that we're behind this all the way, behind you, Jason, behind you, Norm, with your decisions, I think sends a very good message. Let's make this work.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We appreciate your support.
Mr. Mayor, there's one more comment on the updated org chart.
Oh.
It's just a typo that Amelie's name is misspelled.
We will fix that as well.
Thank you.
Now, I need to leave. This is a family matter, and it's something planned, and I'll report on it next time, and you guys can be bored at that point. But Councilman Lynn Meekum is the mayor pro tem. He will handle the closing out of this meeting, which will be the reports, and there'll be no executive sessions. You can go through the adjournment at that time. There are some meetings that we have attended over the last couple of weeks that I'm going to leave up to Norm because he and I have sat together through those. If there are points that you would like to bring up, I would suggest you do so. And then I am going to turn the mantle of mayorship pro tem to Councilman Meekum and proceed on with that, if that's okay with you. And I'd ask you to make a motion to get rid of me for a little while, but I'm just going to stand up and walk out.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think I can do that, can I? Thank you.
I will make a motion, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, for a 5-minute break before we go into reports.
Let's do that.
Thank you.
All right, we're back from our 5.5-minute recess. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I just want to take a second and thank our mayor. I appreciate all the work he's doing. A lot of things going forward. It's kind of a blessing. Well, it's a real blessing for our city to have a mayor that's retired and treating this like a full-time job. I really appreciate him and the work he's doing with our city staff. Let's go ahead and go to our reports. We'll start with Norm, City Manager Norm.
Yeah, so Mayor Pro Tem and Council, just want to let you know, we talked a little bit about it, Ben did, in the budget item, and that is that we're going to be looking at a fire station design here coming up. We've got a couple of different properties that we're looking at potentially for that site. We've also looked at some private properties that are at this point likely out of reach for us to try and spend some money on to be able to do that. And so we have some impact fees that we need to use in the next little bit. And so at the next meeting, we will likely be bringing you a small contract that can start with us, helping us with some architectural and site services to be able to start looking at those two different sites that we have and looking at some site designs and some architectural work that will help us on either side in a couple of different configurations so that we have some options, we have some things to look at. This, I want to be very clear, this will not be a full-on design, but it will be a start of one where we can commit the funds and being able to move forward with that. And then over the next couple of years, having that full-on design done. And then, you know, at some point in the future, having a building built. That's the building actually being built is likely a little farther off than this, but we can at least nail down a site and nail down a design over the next, I would say likely a year, not in a huge hurry, other than we do need to commit some funds to be able to use them and make use of those impact fee dollars that we have for that. So I just want to bring you up to speed, no action tonight. I wanted to let you know that the water tank is full and it has passed the leak test and they're good to go. They're going to start backfilling and we're going to start using that tank long before our July 24th date. That's what we call the hottest day of the year typically, but that's going to be fantastic. The booster pump station, the pumps are ordered, all the pipe is here, the fittings are coming. Again, we've talked about this before, but because of the timing that it's going to take us for electrical and some of the other parts, we're not going to have that booster pump online this year, but it will start up next year. We can still make use of the water because of some piping that we did and some valving that we did for the current setup that we have, and so it's really, really good. City Hall is moving along, seeing more and more of the framing and that moving on, backfilling around the building and that kind of thing. So things are moving good there. We did have Dave, I want to mention to you Thursday night, we have a SUVMA meeting. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. We'll meet you there. We did, as the mayor indicated, we did get about $1.67 million for corridor preservation funds through the county to help us buy the parcel. Sorry, well, county and MAG, but through MAG to buy the parcel just south of Big O, and so we're going to start those negotiations. The owner is aware of that and is willing, what's considered a willing seller, to have those negotiations with us, and we'll move forward. That will be a purchase agreement that will come to you at some point in the future, but the MAG funds were literally just awarded to us Thursday night, and so we're just right on the front end of that now, negotiation and purchase agreement that we'll bring back to you. We did also meet with Nebo School District and had a good meeting with them. Talked about all kinds of different things and some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that they're doing. Nothing really earth-shattering to report there, other than it was a little surprising that they mentioned that they had a very small enrollment increase last year. This last year, that school year that just got over, they indicated they only had 120 new enrollments district-wide, which kind of tells you that they're, might be on a downturn of enrollment, and that might be many different things. I know many people through COVID have decided to homeschool. We have charter schools that are more available now. There's probably likely other things that are, maybe even families are having smaller families, fewer children, those types of things. But with our growth, I was really surprised to hear that was their kind of a minimal growth for that year. But again, just a good meeting with them to kind of get up to speed, and nothing, we talked about different properties, and we've talked about those properties before in potential, schools and that kind of thing. They own over 100 acres in the city right now for future schools, high school, junior high, elementary, et cetera, and that kind of thing. The mayor mentioned we did have a good meeting with DNR today, DWR, talking about everything from trails, as he mentioned. Again, that will be an agreement that we'll have to put together and bring back to you, but they've agreed in concept to helping us with trails from Theodore Allen Pond Park up over into Santaquin Canyon to help us with the mayor's vision of the Prospector View Park and the connecting trails there too. Just a good meeting. We talked about everything from stocking of fish at the pond to a potential shooting range somewhere in the future. You know, all of those things that are just interest to the mayor and especially to our residents that have expressed interest and asked the mayor about that. And so nothing to report there other than we've had a good meeting and you know, good discussion with possibilities in the future. We did have a meeting today with the county regarding the ARPA funds. Nothing to report there other than that we're still hoping to get some ARPA funds to help us with the tank and the booster pump project and that kind of thing. So that's good. We did have a meeting with MAG and a consultant yesterday, and again talking about the interchange and what we can do to further things there. We will likely have some more discussion about that with you in the future, having to do with contracts and other things, but right now there's nothing major to report at this point in time. And that's all I have. I'm happy to report on other items if you have questions, and if not, I'll be quiet.
Any other questions from the council? If not, let's go to Mr. Jason Bond. Report.
Yeah, so just to give you an idea of what's coming up in upcoming meetings, DRC right now, we're planning on the agenda to have Scenic Ridge Estates preliminary plan. This is a 7 or 8 lot subdivision that's way up high on the east bench. And they've been really working a lot in the past, and there's some engineering that they've worked through, but they're ready to move forward, and we'll be on that DRC meeting for a recommendation on a preliminary plan. We have the Osler 5 lot subdivision final plat. That was one that the council just saw at the last meeting, in which they'll be considering a final plat. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the application for McDonald's. It was tabled at their last meeting, but the site plan they resubmitted, and we'll be looking at that. So those are the 3 things we anticipate on DRC. On Planning Commission, we noticed 3 public hearings. One of them was for the general plan. We have a meeting tomorrow morning in which that's basically been polished and is going to be ready to be presented to the public and to the Planning Commission for that public hearing in that meeting. We have a public hearing which would address the land use table and definitions related to the Main Street Business District zone, which includes the CBD, MSC, and MSR areas. I feel like I always got to say it because CBD area sounds weird. Central Business District, Main Street Commercial, and Main Street Residential areas. This is a task that the Planning Commission's undertaken to really help clean up a lot of the language in that area, make sure we have definitions for all the terms we use, just clean things up so that it makes more sense and is easier to follow and read for staff and for everybody, for the public, and most of all. And then we have another public hearing, which is for a proposed amendment, and this still needs to be worked on a little bit, but this is something that was worked on last fall, in which we're looking at again, really for some kind of potential things that could happen this summer that basically we're looking to better support the agricultural community. And this proposed amendment would address some activity that happens in agricultural areas and on farms, and would give them a little bit less regulation and a little bit more support for doing some commercial type activity on their farms, regardless of what zone that they're in. This is something we've talked about for a while in supporting agriculture, and so this is one of those things that will help to do that and prevent some of these farmers from selling the farm and selling their orchards to a potential developer or development. So those are the 3 public hearings. We do have a major home occupation for a daycare, which we'll be looking at as well. And we've got various other applications that have been turned in, but I think that's probably what will be the focus on the agenda. Other things we're probably going to be a little bit more stringent on the 14-day deadline. A lot of times we work with people to help them move forward, but with some of the staffing transition that we're going through, we're going to make sure that we've got plenty of time to review these applications and help them move forward. So I think that's all the update I have for you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Any other questions for Jason?
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Council Member Montoya.
Thank you. Brett, do you have anything that you would like to report on?
No, not unless there are any questions.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
Thank you.
Okay, so as Jason mentioned, so many meetings. Lots of meetings, lots of things going on right now. The youth city council and I helped with the firefighters breakfast on Memorial Day. We were there for 4 hours and bussing tables and wiping tables and picking up garbage and greeting people, and it was a good old time. So thanks to the community for coming out to support that. It was a fantastic turnout. At one point the line was clear out the door, and all the seats were full. So it was a great turnout, great community support for that, and people expressed a lot of excitement that it was held on Memorial Day again. The youth council members also helped last night with the library summer reading kickoff. They did free face painting for kids, and same thing, amazing turnout, tons of people. You could hardly walk through the library aisles, and very long line again for waiting for face painting. So it was beautiful weather and lots of people turned out, and that was a lot of fun. Upcoming events for them, we're doing a team hike on Monday, and we are going to be picking up garbage along Highland on June 18th. So we have a busy month.
So on that, just real quick, have you got support from Public Works to be able to help pick stuff up and vests and all that kind of stuff?
I have communicated with Jason Calloway,
All right.
the Public Works Director, yes.
Okay,
I just need to, when I talked with him, we haven't pinned down a date.
Okay.
And it is a Saturday, so I will communicate with him about picking up the garbage bags and the gloves and vests, and then how quickly the bags can be picked up, or if I can find a truck, if, that we can load them into, and then find where we're supposed to go deposit them.
Yeah, Jason can help you on all that stuff.
Yeah,
That's great. Thank you.
We'll work that out. Thanks. And then just to report, since we are really close to the end of the fiscal year, Jen Wagner with the library, she has been the library director now for just over a year, about. And she, in fiscal year 2021-2022, she applied for and received over $80,000 in grant monies for the library and programming. So kudos to her and my gratitude to her. Writing grants takes a lot of time, and there's an art to it, and so I'm really proud of her for investing that time and making the case for needs in our community to better serve all of our residents, especially children in our community, but all of our residents. And yeah, looking forward to wrapping up the general plan after 17 months and almost 18, and that's going to be great. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Let's go to Councilman Sidaway.
Don't have much this week. I did go to the little 5K and a 1 mile run Saturday. That was actually had a really good turnout, about 50 applicants, and one guy finished the 5K before some of the people finished the mile. That guy was sprinting.
Good for him.
And there's I think
wasn't me.
the first few on the mile were little kids. They beat all the adults. That was impressive.
Awesome.
So that was fun. That's all I've got. Oh,
Okay.
and we got the town market starting up next week. So go 10, support the local people. It's
Monday
really fun.
nights.
Monday nights, starting on the 13th.
And the Army Band is coming.
Yes.
That's a real treat.
And I heard Waffle Love was coming the first week. I think that's still
They're
on.
coming
So.
with the night of the
The Army Band?
The Army Band. Yep.
That's a
Great.
special
Well,
treat
that'll be
to
fun.
have them come.
I don't think we can stress enough how important it is to support that and our local businesses. Thank you for bringing that up. We need to get out and support them. Councilman Hathaway.
Yeah, just a little bit. Norm touched on Sumwa. We do have the Sumwa on the 9th for the new budget for the next year. And this is a little bit ahead, but Mount Nebo Water is the 15th, and it's to discuss their budget also. And then on June 15th is the RMPRA banquet in Ogden, and there'll be 8 of us going. I'll be representing the council, and Ms. Shauna Joe will be representing the rec, and we go up, and Paige Still will be getting the award for Rodeo of the Year.
Are not all the council members invited this year?
I didn't know, so I just went with.
Well, ask them and let us know, will
Okay,
ya?
right. I didn't
Because
know
I've
anything
been to
about
that
it.
several times, and usually all the council members and mayor are
really?
invited. So just let us know.
Never heard about it.
The only reason I got paid to send a text said, you going? I go, well, sure.
Cool. All right.
Anyway, that's it.
Hey, Mayor Pro Tem Meekum.
Yes.
So I just wanted to, and I appreciate you bringing up the hometown market and the starting of that. I also just wanted to acknowledge that we have Jim Rowland here from the Chamber of Commerce. We appreciate their continued support to be here present at the meetings. One of the meetings each month we'll have them here to present the Chamber Business of the Month, but regardless of whether they're on the agenda or not, we have him here tonight. So we appreciate Jim being here, and yeah, thank you for remembering that to bring up the hometown market and supporting local businesses. So thanks for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I don't have anything to report tonight other than just what we've talked about. I think Council Member Montoya brought it up. We're getting busier and busier. Lots of meetings, lots of places to be. It's important that we're following up the best we can, and just like our staff, we're busier than ever. And I appreciate each one of you and everything you do, and we just have to keep going. That's what we're paid to do, so we'll do that. Okay, if there's nothing else, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I think Assistant City Manager Bond has one more thing.
Okay.
Well, and I was going to talk with you after the meeting, but I appreciate your support. It's humbling, but yeah, I look forward to supporting Norm and continuing to support the mayor and council and all the wonderful things that are happening in the city. So, yeah, thank you for your support and your trust in me to fill this position and help Santaquin move forward.
Yeah, we appreciate that. It's like we told Norm, just don't let us down.
Yeah. But no pressure.
No pressure. We you know what, we have 100% confidence in you guys, and we told Norm when we voted for him and wanted him to be our new city manager, we had 100% faith in him, and so this is the way he wants to go. We're going to support that, and we appreciate you guys and all the work you do and what you've done so far. So again, I can't see what's going on in there very well, but if there's nothing else, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are done. Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Bye,
night.
Lynn.
Thanks, Lynn.
You bet. Thank you.
Go ahead and end the Zoom meeting.
You sucker.
Okay.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with you closer.
Recording. Yep. Congratulations. Hey guys.
Congratulations. Nice to meet you. Doesn't mean we need a replacement out of the chamber. You're still gonna fill that too?
Still gonna be there, yeah.
Wow. Still being involved that way. Oh, awesome. Yep. Well, congrats. Jeff, it's good to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
So Brett,